All right. Thank you for being here. Tamara Nall, I almost said camera. Tamara Nall, writer and speaker. I'm sure there's more we'll get into. We could probably throw doctor in there too. Let's put doctor in the front of that just because it takes something to accomplish.
Yes.
Where do you do most of your writing?
So most of my writing is the thoughts or the concepts are in the morning because I get up pretty early in the morning and work out, etc. So that's when I think, or if I'm driving, etc. But I do most of my writing at night in my bed with my laptop in my lap, or writing in a journal. In fact, I have about probably 10 different journals that I just, when something comes to me around the house, I'll just write in them. So that's when I do most of my writing.
How do you keep track of the journals? Like, how do you take the information you've recorded there and then do the next step with it?
Well, I wish I could say that that was an organized strategy, but it's not. So most of the time when I'm, getting ready to compile my thoughts and my content into media, if you will, I just grab all of them and read through them. It's not the most organized and not the way that I would suggest to people, particularly because like I said, I have journals in different rooms, but that's how I do it. And then I also actually use notes on my phone. So when I'm inspired by something, I'll just do some audio recording in notes.
I've had a lot of people tell me they use notes with the audio, with just talking to it. I haven't
Hmm.
tried that yet. I use notes a lot, but I just type it in. I need
Okay.
to I need to try the voice one and see how that works. But
I
um,
love that one. I love that one because it's just right there. You don't have to worry about the thumb tapping, etc. So notes works.
you end up with like 20 pages of notes, and then how do you deal with that
Most of the time, I'll have 20 pages of notes. Are you talking from the journal or from when I actually use audio in the notes?
on the notes on the
Okay,
phone?
on the notes. So then what I just do is because I probably have literally hundreds of notes because you can put a title at the top. Then I'll forward it to myself on my computer and then start working it from there. It's already there. It is emailed to me, and I can just take that stream of consciousness and then put it into workable content from there.
Okay. And do you set a time aside every day to write or not?
No, I don't. And I know these aren't best practices, but I do try to dedicate anywhere from 1 to 2 hours for projects that are outside of like my 9 to 5, if you will. So that way that I am moving it forward. And I would say in a week, I might dedicate, a couple of days. So again, 1 to 2 hours a day. I might dedicate, Monday or Wednesday to some new startup that I've started because I am a serial entrepreneur and investor. And then other days I will dedicate that to, content for some of the books that I'm writing.
And what kind of area do you have to write in? Like, what's your writing space like?
My office. So I use my office, my bedroom, and my living room. So if it's at night, I'm pretty much, as I mentioned before, in the bed with my laptop in my lap. Sometimes, if it's a good bright day outside, we have these beautiful windows in the living room just over there. So I'll do that, and I can see like the birds fly by the window, or a fox, or we do have fox. So the fox go by, and then when I have to really think like intense structure, are the themes kind of aligned, then I'll sit at my desk in my office. I feel that I'm the kind of person that gets bored very easily. So I have to, and that's in people, places, and things, quite honestly. So I have to have like different places where I'm inspired and our work.
Where do you think that the ideas for different things come from?
That's a good one. So for me, I love looking outside of my area of expertise, which is artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics. So I listen to a lot of podcasts. Watch a lot of YouTube videos. I have all of my social media streams that are coming into me, as well as kind of, world news alerts, etc. And that's how I get inspired. I also subscribe to a number of different organizations that have webinars. And sometimes I'm working, even if it's throughout the day, I'll listen to those. And more likely than not, I'm going to get some type of congestible content that I can then use that sparks an idea or sparks a different path. And so I like to seek inspiration from areas outside of my domain.
So would you subscribe to the idea of the muse, like the Romans, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think that works too. Because I think that, you can get inspired by a lot of different things, and you can seek inspiration, and you can develop your writings from different, atmospheres and environments. So yeah, why not?
Have you ever visualized what the creative source or creative energy is doing when you're not engaged with it, like for a particular topic? If you're thinking about work stuff versus writing a book stuff, do you feel like that's a separate source of creativity?
So, to the first part of your question, in terms of what happens to that energy if you're not engaged, for me, I feel that I make the greatest strides when I'm present, when I'm engaged. If I don't, then it's going to sit and it's going to become stagnant. And I actually, have a current project. Well, I have a current project that I put on the back burner, if you will. It is a beautiful fiction novel that people have read. I mean, I went and had all of the different edits, like different because you got to have different copywriters to view depending on where you are in the maturity of your book, etc. And I got down to literally, I think I was the last mile. And this life happened, other things became priority. And that just sat. And the only reason why I saw it was because this past weekend, my husband and I had to drive to Pennsylvania to see my niece in a pageant. And we passed by a field of flowers that looked just like the cover of my book. And I have not picked that up. I mean, it's probably been, quite honestly, a year and a half. And I'm this close. I'm this close. So, to your question about that energy, I feel like that energy dies. And so you have to make an assertive effort, which I'm just going to take it over the finish line. You have to make an assertive effort to stay energized, to stay present, to keep that energy alive. If you're not present, it's going to be delayed, postponed, or dead. So that was a great
I do feel like you have to do something with it.
Yeah.
And then if you don't, then I feel like that energy, probably that idea, just moves along to somebody else that's available and going to engage with it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I hope nobody has picked it up. I hope. But yes, I need to. I mean, it's a beautiful story. Even people who read the manuscript, if you will, even said that, oh my gosh, this would be an excellent movie. Someone said it could even be on Lifetime, except there are a couple of characters that are probably too controversial for Lifetime. But if I were to take those out, because there are 5 different character paths, which is very hard to do, but I had them all come together in this beautiful narrative that I think is life-changing, and it was actually in dedication to my mother, who passed away 10 years ago. So I hope no one's picked it up, but you're absolutely right. Somebody could, but you have to keep that energy alive.
Do you use then like an ideal reader when you get to a certain part of a draft where you're willing to let somebody else look at it or think it will make sense when somebody else reads it? Do you have a set of people you send that out to, and whether it's the whole thing or just chapters?
I do. And when do I send it? I send it out at the outline level just to kind of make sure that the flow is going. And then I don't send it chapter by chapter. I think some people probably do. I pretty much send the entire book, transcript, manuscript, whatever you want to call it, to them. And I do have a set number of people that I use, or I even use with them to do it and keep an eye. But for me, it also depends. So I also have a USA Today, Wall Street Journal best-selling book. And those editors and those people who review that were very, very different from those that review, for instance, my fiction book that I put on the bookshelf. So I believe that you really have to work with experts that have a successful track record of publishing, making successful projects, bestsellers, etc. So my team is different depending on the project that I'm working on.
Do you have other people that send writing that they do to you to look at in the same way?
It has been a while. I have people who send me their ideas or will see me out and say, "Oh, let's talk through my ideas." Or they'll just tell me kind of what their outline is and what they're thinking, and then I'll give them feedback. But in terms of reviewing manuscripts, that's not my expertise. And I kind of like let them know. But do I think it'll be a bestseller, or do I think there's a need for it? Absolutely. People tell me the ideas, but they don't send me manuscripts.
Do you have themes that you see that kind of join all of your work together? Like things that go across all of the different types of writing?
I wish I could say that I did. I'm very much a creator where I see gaps. That's where I work. So, for instance, like I told you, I have the bestseller book that's all business, that's like my career and professional life. And then I was inspired. I'm a religious person. I'm a Christian. I believe that whatever you believe is what you believe. But for me, and I wanted an inspirational book, which was the impetus after my mother passed away, because I found that a lot of people in my network were losing parents and losing loved ones and needed that inspiration. And my most recent project is a series of children's books that I've already put the storyline together for. I just have to find an illustrator, etc. And it was interesting because about a month ago I actually spoke to someone about like my brand and what my brand should be given all my different projects. And I thought it was very hard because I felt like you need to have a niche. You need to go through that niche. But what he told me was that it is me as a person and my life and my experiences. And if that's different books and different genres or different content and different genres, that's fine because people want to know me and my authentic self. So I think the common theme is just me, just me and my life and life experiences, like, building a business and focus on my professional career. And then realizing that I wanted to start a family. And that was very difficult because no one told me about the, biological ticking talk or whatever, the ticking clock, if you will. And then losing my mother, that was another transition, and going through that. And then now this children's book, which kind of ties to this biological clock. So the common theme would be me, quite honestly. And I do find that even when I post like on social media or when I put content out, those times where I'm my authentic self and I'm just kind of talking about some project that I'm working on, or I'm just showing, the day in a life, those actually get more likes and comments and shares than the ones where it's just strictly business advice, or, as an example.
So if you have the business side, the children book side, the fiction side, what other types of writing have you either, whether it's published or not, have you tried? Like script writing, poetry, things like that?
Well, of all those three, I think the only thing that I have not mentioned would be poetry. My mother was a genius and she had journals and journals of poetry. My sister was a poetess as well. And theirs were more formal kind of, they would actually, my sister in particular would go to like speakeasies and different, venues where you're like snapping your fingers and everyone's enjoying that. My mother would do it for church events and work events, etc. And I never published or anything like that. I just had my journals, which I've always had in my life. And I would just write about like what I saw when I went outside, or when, sit down and people watch and write poetry about those. So I think that that's something that it's a gift that I too have, that I have not explored, but in my 10 journals, I have the starts of many, 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 many poems.
Yeah, for me, the poetry side and regular writing side seem very different. Like they come from a different place.
Yes.
And the poetry stuff, I thought, I'd write a poetry book and then it'd be out of my system and I'd move on. And then I've written a few poetry books, and it's really something how the theme of it, whether you're collecting poems that you've written over 20, 30 years, or whether you've sat down and said, okay, for this year, I'm going to write this many poems, or try to get a poetry book that has 100 poems in it, and how they tie together. It's interesting. Like it definitely feels like it's driven by a force outside of myself, that you have to listen. And that's, for fiction writing, it's similar to where if the story develops, you have to think about it, and it's just in your mind, and you're turning it over and over and over till it gets to the point where it has to come out.
Yeah.
For me, poetry is more like, hey, here's a good idea. Here's a line. Here's a thought. Write it down or not. I mean, that's the difference between a writer and not, is you write it down. So you write it down in your notes, or you put it somewhere. Maybe it's a whole poem. Maybe it's part of one. Maybe it's a title to one that's yet to be manifest in your mind, or you haven't received that message for it yet, that you have to just collect those and then do something more with them. You can't just write them down in their little pieces and then that's it. You have to write them down and then go back and organize them. It takes a little more work to it. But I've found that the more you engage with it, I think the more it engages with you.
Yeah.
So
you give
that's
it
how
life.
poetry is.
Yeah,
you can't
I'm getting
ignore it
chilled.
after.
Yeah. And this way it's very interesting, because I actually grew up in Atlanta, Georgia. And I would take the what we call MARTA, which was a public transportation, to different places. And I had a whole series of poems in one journal that was called Of Marta and Men. And basically the men part was, all of my poems were inspired by people that I saw on MARTA. And they were women too, etc. But I just thought it sounded good of Marta and Men. And people would just walk by, and then I would just start, a few lines, and I might finish it off later if it came back to me. Or they might sit across from me, and I have no earthly idea what their lives were like. I have no earthly idea, but just I was inspired by what I saw or conversations that I heard, and I had, that. And then also I think the of men came from my dating life, younger, and when there's heartbreak or breakups, etc., you're inspired. And there was one that, and hopefully I'm not sharing too much here, but there was one I'll never forget. And if he listens to this, we're family, friends, etc., to this day. And I'll never forget, we spent a lot of time together, and he had a roommate. And his roommate, we would just like hang out, and his roommate would always have someone different every day, right? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, poor her, poor her. And then one day we were walking in the living room, and the young woman looked at me and gave me the same look that I would often give to women. And that's when I realized that maybe I wasn't the only one. So I was inspired to actually write a poem, and I think it literally is my best work, but I cannot find it. He might have taken it and thrown it away. But anyway, it was a poem about a woman, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And then it said, and when I got to Sunday, Monday looked at me and I looked at her. And it was this whole poem. It was the most beautiful piece of work that I've ever done, based on that life experience and that epiphany of I think I'm the better person because I'm the only one. But then she looked at me like she was the better person because she was the only one. So to your point, there has to be this energy there that comes out of it.
Wow. Maybe a thing to do, especially with your mom's poems, like Emily Dickinson,
Mm.
her stuff wasn't published until after she was gone.
Yeah.
And
I'm gonna write that
maybe
down.
that's an interesting thing to do, is to collect those somehow and then either do them all as just she wrote them,
Mm-hmm.
maybe on the other side of the page a little thing that makes or what you think about it, but maybe not. I don't know, something to think about.
That
Or
is.
maybe put it together with poems you've written, but maybe not. Maybe it's just her writing and that's how you do it. But
Okay,
yeah,
don't get
poetry
me
is something.
teary-eyed on this podcast, please. But that is something that, and I'm going to actually share that with my sister and my father. We would absolutely, absolutely love that. That's something that we could totally do, and they're so beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Mhm,
And then you can also, whether it's a published project or just something for the family, you
mhm,
have memories that your family writes down about a certain topic. That's fun
mhm,
to collect those from everybody.
mhm,
Or if they do poetry themselves, then have them write it down. Or if you do the collection of poetry from your mom, then get the reflections on it from your family and you put
mhm,
that in some place. Maybe that's not published. Maybe that's just a family book, but
mhm.
maybe it is. I don't know. It's
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
the poetry stuff definitely feels like it has a different something for me. And I think everybody, as far as creativity goes, prefers certain things maybe at certain times. So you have people that paint, people that draw, people that do music, people that write. And it's important, I think, to try each of those.
Mhm,
So it it makes the other stuff better. Like
mhm,
poetry makes dialogue and stories better.
mhm,
And script writing makes explanation in books as well as not just the narrative but the dialogue as well. It makes that cleaner and more. You do the poetry stuff that makes your dialogue more poetic, because why wouldn't it be? I mean, we
mhm.
go through life and we have conversations. We don't have a chance to go back and go, how should I say this better? That would be
Right.
more interesting, or a shorter explanation of a broader idea. Then
Mhm.
that's what you want in script writing. And you get that through poetry. That's pretty
Right.
great.
Right.
But have you tried script writing before?
I have not. I have not tried it. I think that would be lovely if I did. And if I did, it would probably come off the book that I put on the table and postponed it just because
Mhm.
so many people said this would be a beautiful movie or a lifetime. So I think that would be the one that I would experiment for the first time with.
Yeah, maybe that's a script and not a book. You know,
Mm,
it's strange how you have different things you work on
yeah.
and you go, well, I'm not quite good enough to get this story across the way I want to or the way I feel like it should be. So I'll work on it and then I'll set it aside and try to get better at writing, try some other forms of writing. And maybe it's that other little piece of working on poetry a little more to be able to come back to it, or some other, maybe it's even music that'll affect the way you write better through the tone and pitch of things.
Hmm.
And then you come back to it later and see if you're good enough to write it again. I have a few things like that that are 90% done the first draft, but are not to the point where I'm ready to go, okay, this is done. Like
Hmm.
usually with writing a book, I think it's done when I get tired of rereading it. Like you
Okay.
just say, okay, any other changes are just going to be different. It's not going to be better or worse. It's just
Hmm.
different.
Hmm.
So you have to be done with it at some point. But
Hmm.
yeah, script writing is a separate language, a different language that I thought was no big deal. Like if you had a book, do a movie about it, no problem. You know, get the program for it, put the information in, and then here's your script.
Hmm.
And I also got into script writing from thinking about dialogue tags, like he
Okay.
said, she said, all that. and to just getting so bored with that to go, well, how can I write the character well enough to where it sounds like a different character, so a person doesn't need those dialogue tags so much, maybe one or two in a page, just to, touch base again to go, okay, I know who's talking here, because it seemed like it got in the way. So I started thinking about the literature books we had in school, where you had the Julius Caesar play, and it would have the name of the person saying it, the colon, and then what they said. I was like, well, let me try writing a book like that. And that's not good. So then I was like, how about script writing? And it's a whole different format and different focuses on thing, much more dialogue heavy than narrative or exposition. And you do look at it more of, it's a collaborative thing. Because if anybody ever makes it, a director is going to put their spin on it. The actor is going to put their spin on it. So you have to leave space for all that. So it's not over explained. And sometimes people can read it and get something totally different than you thought when you were writing it. And that's cool too, because the writing is just its own thing. But I would recommend try some script writing.
Okay.
Look at some scripts for TV shows that you like, that you've watched, and then you read them and go, oh, that's how they write that. That's how it moves through the process. And then maybe some movie scenes, look up the script for it. But it definitely makes other writing better. Even if you never write a script, you never publish it, just practicing it makes things better. And it's one of those good things, if you set time aside for writing every day, or if you have that time of 2 hours, 1 to 2 hours a day of doing some creative connection with something, that you can just do some exercises of it, and it's going to help. Like if you think, I want to work on this book, but I'm not really feeling it right now. Let me try a dialogue between this character and this character and just see what happens.
Now, what's the most difficult genre or format for you?
It's an interesting question. The most difficult, I guess right now it would probably be script writing, because I'm still learning the language of it. Like I got the program final draft to put it together, but I didn't know. It's like you have all these pieces, but you don't know where they go. So it's difficult to talk to the program. You have to learn the language of the program on top of learning the language of what a script is. So I would recommend, or what worked for me was just doing it in Word and formatting it myself, or get an old typewriter and format it that way. And then you start to learn, oh, this is what I like versus this other way. And then when you look at other scripts, you go, okay, I see what they did there with their scene transitions. I don't like that. I like it this way better. And then I read the book by Sid Field, which is an older book. I feel like it's probably from the 60s or 70s, because it has some older references in it about how to write scripts. And then a great rule in there was learn all the rules and see how other people write it, but then do it the way you want to. As long as it makes sense and somebody else can read it, then that's good. So,
wow. Okay.
I think it's the most difficult is the one you haven't done before. So see something that maybe is daunting to you and then try it. You might not get good at it. You might not want to do it anymore, but at least you can say, I've tried that element of it. How about for you?
I would think the most difficult one for me, I agree with you. I think it's the script writing. I have heard of final draft before. When I was writing my book that I put on hold, and it seems to be quite popular. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. It wasn't, once I went in, it wasn't so intuitive and so easy. So I, like you, just went back to the old way of doing things. But yeah, I think script writing would be, because I know I'm a hard critic when I watch, movies or TV shows, etc. And so this nice, delicate dance that you have to do to, okay, I'm writing this, but is this gonna be, something that others are interested in, or am I writing it in a way that it's gonna flow? and then all of that. And then I even had this whole thought of, well, could I afford the right actors? Oh, well, why don't I just be the supporter of those up and coming actors? So it's all these different things that probably I was getting ahead of myself on, but I was kind of overwhelmed with these different data points in terms of trying to make it a success.
Yeah, that's what keeps you going, is looking at the stuff farther down the road. Like if you're driving, you're not looking at the hood of your car, you're looking 11 seconds or whatever down where you want to be. So with the script writing, and when you talk to people about it, you see they went through the same thing you did, and you as in me and you. And with script writing, it changes the way you watch TV or movies, because you're kind of looking through what the public face of it is, and you're looking at what's the framework of how they get that person to do that. And then you start looking at how many scene changes there are, and you go, oh geez, I have to write a different slug line for each scene change, and I have to do a transition, and wow, this is going to be a lot more to it than I thought.
Right.
And then you learn the difference between a regular script and a shooting script. And I think that's why Final Draft is maybe the industry standard, is because the program does all kinds of stuff for you to help you make a shooting script and a call sheet and all those other things that you could do on your own, certainly, because people did it on their own before.
Right, before.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing to see. Just like when you write a business book and you go, I'm going to format my book like this. I want to have the pages like this. I want the page number at this spot. I want the size of the font to be this, and this is how I make things stand out. And you talk to somebody else that writes a business book, and they've thought about that stuff too. And sometimes if they have a bad business book, they didn't think about those things, and you go, oh, well, this is why it's bad. But then you see something someone else did that you didn't think about or do, and you go, oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I got to add that to my toolbox of ideas there.
And that's exactly what happened. So the name of the book is Business Success Secrets. And, there's so many people that would approach me. Oh, I have this business idea. Some of them would be okay. Most wouldn't be great ideas. And so I decided for this one actually to do an anthology. So I reached out to my network, all of whom were entrepreneurs. There are 34 of us in there. And my whole goal was that someone would pick up the book and in it would find 34 case examples that they can pull something from as they're starting or scaling their businesses. And just all the different stories. And I use the format of, okay, everybody's going to answer this set of questions. And then there's a mini set where you can pick which question you want to answer. So that way, as the reader was going through, he or she would experience, oh, okay, they know that there was this common question that was being answered, if you will. And then there would be a little bit of diversity of thought with the other questions. And it turned out to be really, really a great project. And we have high, reviews on Amazon. So I really, really, really enjoyed that. But to your point, it was kind of seeing what other people were doing and found out that this was the format that was best for this project.
Nice. Writing is fun. So yeah, that's good. Think of all the stuff that people learned and they didn't make a note of or write down. And I think about that through professional life and then just regular living or whatever, all those little things that you like, man, that's something that made life easier or more fulfilling. And I need to learn. I need to note that, not just in my mind, but maybe that little tidbit of knowledge will help somebody else. Yeah.
Right.
A good business book. What book are you working on now the most?
So the book series that I'm working on now is the children's book series. And that idea came from this concept. So some people know, some people don't, who'll be watching this. So I'm the founder and creator of Junia, which is the feminine equivalent of junior. It's a new formal naming convention for when mothers name their daughters after them. There's about 30,000 of Junias, if you will, in the US. And again, that came out of my life experience of being so focused on my professional career. And then when my husband and I were ready to have a family, it was difficult. And so unfortunately, we couldn't get any embryos with my DNA. So we got donor eggs. I was really sad about that. But then said, okay, well, what can I do? And my husband and I agreed that we would name our first daughter. So we're in the process of building our family, and her name will bear my name. And so a part of that, I was telling people the idea. They thought it was wonderful. And then I got the idea of making a book series, a children's book series about different Junias across, different backgrounds, so that whichever little girl picks it up will see herself in each of the series. And so that's the one that I'm excited about. It's basically a 5-book series. I have the series totally written. And I love them. And then there are common themes throughout. And when you go through the children's book, the child will be able to look for different symbols hidden within the pages, etc. So it's very interactive with the child and the parent or the caregiver. And so right now, I have down selected to a few illustrators. So that's kind of where I am in that journey. But that came off of Junia and the idea of Junia.
What do you think the drive to name a kid after you is?
For me, and I think it goes back to something that I talked about before, I never thought I would have a family without my mother. The mother's supposed to be there to help. So given the fact that she passed on, and I believe that there's just strong lineage. I believe every family has strong lineage. So for me, it was about legacy. And since I don't have that DNA, I mean, when you think about it, for me at least, it was very emotionally driven. It was, oh my gosh, we have to put the family tree up there. And when it comes to me, it's cut off, in terms of DNA. And that was sad for me. And I felt that I didn't have anyone that told me earlier to think about family planning. I had everything else in my life worked out except this. No one ever told me. So for me, since I can't have the DNA, which I think I come from a very, very strong lineage, and I prayed about it, and although I know that my parents gave me more than DNA, they told me how to be a good person, a good global citizen, a smart person, working hard. I got all those things. There was just something still there missing. And I felt that this would be the one thing that I could have that would have still a connection from my lineage, although now informal, to my legacy. So it was this connection between lineage and legacy for me.
It's the classic nature and nurture, where the DNA is probably the nature part and then the nurture part. I mean,
right.
I don't know. I guess it depends on how you look at it as to whether it's 50-50 or favoring one side more or the other.
And for me, we have so many juniors, and there are boys all over who proudly carry their father's name. And why can't we have that for females as well? So there was that, I guess, mantra or focus that I wanted to be on. And actually, we're pretty much down the path. I mean, the National Archives Association has now deemed March 1st National Junia Day. We have a change.org petition. We have a Declaration of Rights, a sample naming ceremony, a certificate there. And quite honestly, people can go ahead and name their daughters Junia. First, middle, last name, comma Junia or comma JN. But when you go to certain databases like that where there's a drop down, that's where there's an issue. But if it's not, and it can be written in, it can be written in now. So we're actually about to go down this whole legislative path to get co-sponsorship so that so Junia can be recognized just like Junior is recognized. And that's a whole task or a whole movement. I didn't even think that I would have to go down. I was just thinking, for me. But then when I shared it with people, they said, no, this is something that you need to do. And let's make it a great thing. And that's kind of where I got the idea of this children's book series.
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of it.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. I think me and my wife talked about if we had a girl that if she wanted to name it after her, wanted to name her after her, then you could just name her Junior and then call her Junior. But it's
Mm-hmm.
good that there's the masculine and feminine variants of it.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at, I think it was some sort of social media post that was going through all of the drop down menus of what it was something like, what do you identify as? And it
Mm-hmm.
had a bunch of different selections. And then one of them was attack helicopter. And I was like, that can't be real. And then
Okay.
I was filling out one sometime and I scrolled down it and there was an option for attack helicopter. So I definitely chose that one because it's
Okay.
good.
I mean,
Yeah.
why not? That's funny. But yeah, I actually have found in having conversations that there are a lot of spouses, husbands, partners that actually do suggest name your daughter after yourself, or they are supportive of that. And it's more of the mother who says, oh, well, I don't want anybody to think I'm arrogant or I'm conceited. And I'm like, why even ask the questions? I don't think we do for sons. So why do that for daughters?
Oh,
So,
I would ask the question for the son too. Like,
oh,
what
okay.
what makes a parent think that a kid wants to have the exact same name as them? So
Got it. Got it.
I just wonder what the honest response is and I wonder for all the juniors and juniors out there, what they think about it. Would
Mhm.
they name their kid? Are they going to follow that up with the second
The
or I guess you'd
third.
start with the
Mhm.
third, fourth? Like, what is what is that? But
Uh-huh.
how does it work with getting married if you're a Junia? Do you keep the last name you came with?
Well, these days, well, I guess it depends because now they're saying that in order to vote, you gotta like have the last name of your husband, etc. Figure that all out. But
What? To
yeah,
vote?
yeah, that's some legislation that's being considered. For
That
women.
doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm just telling you what's out there now.
Okay.
that's that's on the discussion board, and that is that in order for women, in order to vote, you must have your husband's last name if you're married, and show like the birth certificate. Is like all of this, and in some places, I kind of feel like it's already there because I saw something on TV where this woman had to go and get her marriage certificate and her birth certificate. It was a lot. Um.
Oh, I know what this is. This is making sure that you only vote once. When I was a trooper in Virginia for a while and we did some election fraud
Mhm.
investigations and there was there were people that voted with their maiden name and then their married name. And
Oh,
that's the issue, is to just make sure you're just using one, that if you've changed your legal identity to changing your last name, whether it's your husband's name, a name that you chose together, a different one, or you just changed your name, that
okay.
you're only voting under one. I'm pretty sure that's how
Well, then, if that's
what
the
they're
case,
talking
then that
about.
means that every married woman would have to do that.
When everyone that changes their name.
That changes their name. Okay.
Yeah, that should
Okay.
be all it is.
Oh, okay.
Male or female. It doesn't matter
Got it.
who you are. If you change your name, like Ocho Cinco can only vote under Ocho Cinco. You can't
Hmm.
vote under whatever his name was before.
Hmm.
And
So,
then
I
if you
mean,
change your name back, you got to do the same thing.
right. So I have not gotten that question before, but yes, if the grandchild was now named after the mother, that would be like the third, the junior, the third, the fourth, etc. And if you're married, I mean, so many people I know are keeping their maiden names anyway. Um, but if you got married and you decided to change the name, that I mean, I guess you would have been a junior for that time. I haven't thought through that. I need to think through that. But in my mind, once you're registered as a junior, you're a junior. Um, you know. But that is so. If I were to change my name, we're not going to take away the junior, you know, um, convention or title, if you will, because you change your name when you're married. You were Junia for how many ever years. And there's legacy there with that. So I don't know. It just kind of, I haven't thought that through, but that's something I need to definitely think through.
Is your last name now your maiden name?
It is my maiden name.
Okay.
So socially on social media, I have the Nall Azani because my husband's name is Azani. But formerly, I never changed my name. I kept it Nall. I had, a lot going on before. And right now, I don't think that would really matter as much, but it is exciting knowing that I'll have that, once we have our daughter.
I often wonder what's the purpose of having the same last name when you get married. And I think the younger me would have, if my wife back then said, I'm not going to change my name, I would have said, well, then we're not getting married. But now I would say, that's fine. Keep the last name that you have. But and I guess that's just, I don't know if that's American life that changed my thinking of that or just getting older. I wonder if you're in the mindset of early 20s, starting a family, if you think, well, I want to make sure that everybody knows we're a family and that the kids have the same last name as their parents and it goes through like that. That makes sense to me. And I wonder what effect it would have if your mom and dad had different last names and then the junior was named after the dad and the Junia was named after the mom. And then they just go out into the world and carry that surname. At some point, if the whole point of it is to feel connected, how does that affect the disconnect between a family? Does it make them feel farther apart or closer together, or does it not matter at all? I don't know. Like if my mom had a different last name than me, that would be weird, I think. I don't know.
Well, my sister was married and divorced and she kept the name for that reason. She wanted to, just keep the name to make sure that, my nephew,
The married name?
The married name. She kept the married name for that. But I feel like when I hear those scenarios, it's mostly for external reasons, not internal. It's like, oh, I don't want my child to go to school and my name is this and my child's name is that. It's more of the external. I think that in terms of the connection that you're speaking to, that's all about what we create in our family unit. Because you have people with everybody has the same name, all the children, the mother, the father, whatever, and the household is in disarray. No one's getting along. They're arguing, headed toward, So in terms of that, I think it should be more about like building a close family network and finding opportunities to do family things and talking and finding bonding. I think that's more important than the name itself, actually.
It'd be an interesting study to see. I'm not sure what it would, like I have no hypothesis on how it would affect either way. I think the younger me would say the same name in a family, even if it was one that the parents chose together and just moved forward with the same name. I feel like that because you can say you're on the same team. Like if you were on the same sports team, you wouldn't have half the team have one name and half have the other. So I don't know. That might be an oversimplification. I'm not sure.
But definitely food for thought. You have a lot of comments that are food for thought. That is for sure.
It'd be a fun study to do. I'm not sure the best way to do it. And I bet it would be different countries too.
Yeah.
Different cultural groups. Yeah. Like I don't think that you're going to take out the hyphenation of last names from Spanish names, like from Mexico. I don't think, I think that's because they're honoring the mother side and the father side. You end up with a long string of names. Like either names matter or names don't matter. So if they don't matter, then why name somebody Junior or Junia? If they
Mm-hmm.
do matter, then I can see that. Then why have a different last name? So I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems at odds with itself, but
Okay.
that's a lot of life. It's a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm saying that with Junior too. Like
Yeah.
it's first you get by the thing of I'm going to name a person that's my name exactly, except for this suffix,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other is how are we going to deal with the last names?
Mm-hmm. It's a lot to think about, but Junia is very exciting. So
It's interesting the roots of Junia. Did you take that from the Greek or the Roman? What is it? The Roman is the Roman goddess Juno is like the
so
Greek equivalent of Hera.
okay. So I actually got it from the Bible. In Romans 16:7, there is a mention of Apostle Junia. She was only
Hmm.
mentioned one time in the Bible by Apostle Paul. She was an outstanding individual. And it just resonated with me. First of all, so the first thing is when you think about something like this, I wanted a suffix that wouldn't like shock people, right? So you have like Junior and Kodak. Like that wouldn't
Hmm.
be as embraced. But if you have Junior and Junia, which actually, depending
It's
on how
good.
quietly you say, yeah, it's related. So we don't have to worry about the shock factor. If you're going to embrace it, you're going to embrace it. And then I did do some more research, and basically I got it from the Bible. She was only mentioned once, as I said. She was imprisoned with a lot of other apostles for her beliefs. And so to me, it just kind of I put my creative hat on as I'm kind of like thinking. And yes, this was during that 1 or 2 hours a day that I'm thinking. And I'm like, you know what? This is legacy. This is strength. Like this is power, that you would have this one female mentioned one time in this great book, and it be such strength. So that's kind of how I got it. And then it just helped that it sounded a lot like Junior.
Yeah, I mean they both come from the Latin, which means younger. So
Mm-hmm.
Junior was originally made to say it's the younger of
Mm-hmm.
this name,
Mm-hmm.
and Junia also means younger. If it's from the Bible, especially Romans, I would say it's Roman and it's
Mm-hmm.
from Juno because that's
Mm-hmm.
probably where she got that name because she was
Mm-hmm.
a Roman citizen. As far as
Mm-hmm.
I know, if she was hanging out with Paul, good chance that she was a Roman citizen since Paul
Right.
was Saul before. And
Uh-huh.
that's one of the things that makes him stand apart is that he was a citizen of
Mm-hmm.
Rome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like it. It's a good name for it. I'm not sure where Junior came from. Like if that's after a god. I mean, most of that stuff goes back to mythology
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
people get names from, but
Right. Well, there is not, based on my research, and somebody, I would love if somebody could reach out to me and tell me differently. But based on my research, people can't tie Junior to like one person or starting it. It was just something that kind of gained momentum and became really, really relevant. So if
it was
other
a
people,
necessity maybe
yeah,
to be able to tell the father from the son.
for property purposes, etc., and
Yeah.
inheritance and stuff. I have read that, but tying it to a person who came up with it, I have been short to find that, but would love if our scholars out there could let me know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's probably not from as far back as Rome. It's probably 13th or 14th century, I would imagine. And
Mm-hmm.
since it has a Latin root, I would say it's in that time frame, and then it's probably just from younger. I mean, there's a bunch of people in the Bible referred to as this person, the younger, and they don't say junior. So I don't think they had that back in biblical times. I don't think they had a junior. Or they think they had son of, and
Right.
maybe in the more 13th, 14th century that you started getting the surnames that were son at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Thompson, Tom's son. So your son of time,
Okay, yeah,
and then all
got it.
those other things. So, but I
Mm,
don't know. That'd be good. That'd be good research.
yeah.
Tie that in with the book of the effect of surnames on families
Mm.
and their perception or how it turns out. And I don't know.
Yeah. So
Takes
if
all
any
kinds.
of your listeners are those scholars out there that want to do that, I love learning anyway. I would love for you to send it my way because I couldn't find anything. So
So the website you have for that is
it's junialegacy.com.
okay.
And there people can go, they can sign the petition, they can download the articles that I mentioned, they can donate if they want to, because it will be, kind of going down this legislative route will cost some money. If they want to volunteer, if you know of, Congress folks or representatives in your state or your city that you have relationship with, would love to be introduced. We're going to have to do a whole walk on the hill at some point. And so people want to hear from their constituents. So if it's something that you are excited about to support, would love to hear from you and could bring you into the fold to kind of help make this an official naming tradition that is recognized by passport services and vital statistics and Social Security and all those regulatory bodies that are very important when naming a child.
What kind of resistance have you met from legislature or anyone else about it?
You know what? It's so interesting. I have not met any. And I'm not going to say that there isn't, but they just have not articulated or communicated it to me. Most people who actually talk to me about it are quite supportive. We actually did a photo shoot and a video shoot where we had like Junia models, moms and daughters that came over. It was so beautiful. There were a lot of fathers here too who were just as happy. It was some launch of some people's modeling careers, if you will, both mother and or a daughter. And one of the models, the mothers, worked on the Hill. And so she and I had lunch, and she did not resisted. In fact, she supported the idea, but she did say that it's not anything that's going to be quick. You basically have a 2-year cycle to get anything, added to an omnibus or added to a mega bill. You have to do a lot of research about who would support it, who might not support it. You have to go and practice with those reps that might not support it so that you can get confidence to go to those that do. So she cautioned me that it was not going to be a short journey or a quick win. She said that there have been some, not similar, but other, I guess, what do you want to say?
Attempts?
Ideas, attempts, not with Junia, but just anything else. I think she gave me some medical legislation that was trying to be passed. They were 13 years in the making, and they're still trying to get it passed, but they just keep going. Now, I do not anticipate it's going to take 13 years. It cannot take 13 years. But her point was to just beware, to manage my expectations and supporters' expectations of the amount of work and the time that it would take to get something like this passed.
It seems like it would be easy to pass because it doesn't have a real cost to it. It's more of just a will type of bill. And I'm not sure I would want it in an omnibus or anything else. I think I'd want it in a standalone bill because why attach it to anything else? I mean, the idea that there are bills out there that are hundreds or thousands of pages long it's ridiculous. I think you just put it as a single topic. Like maybe sometime you'll have a topic that needs to be so closely tied in with something else, it's included in the same bill. But my
Yeah.
experience working with the legislative branch of the government in trying to get advocating for bills or advocating against bills, then if there's no cost to it, what's it to them? I mean,
Right.
it's a, if anything, it helps differentiate between people with the same name. It's
Right.
just like Junior.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I need to write that down as a talking point. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, there are already 30,000 daughters named after their mothers in the US alone. So you're right. It could help differentiate that. And you know what? Thank you for that. I do think that it is something that should just happen and shouldn't be that difficult So hopefully that's the path that will go down through the easier path. And you're right. Just it should attach to something else that's already there that is like a no-brainer. And also what someone told me was that and with some legislatures they need some wins. They haven't
Mm.
had wins in a while in terms of, and so this would be a great kind of like movement to like take back to their constituents and say, hey, look, matriarchal or what have you, this is something that we can all get behind. So hopefully we'll get some support for that, because people will need to go back to their communities and show a win.
Yeah, it might be something that's easier to do on a state level to begin with. And then once you get it on the state, get others to adopt it. But really, all you need is, I mean, the only thing that's an issue is not having it in a drop down menu.
Correct.
Because it's a name.
Yes.
That's it. It's like saying, can I name a person this? Sure,
Yep.
you can.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is right. Like I said, people can, a mother can go ahead and name her daughter that. On the birth certificate, you can go ahead and have them put comma Junia or comma JN. You can do that. But yes.
It doesn't even seem like it needs to be a law. It seems like it could just be a resolution. Where they just say, we resolve that this is allowed, or that we recognize this thing. I mean, there's nothing that needs to be written for it. Is there a law for junior? Probably not.
No.
Yeah. So it's the exact same thing. All it is, and if you have a drop down menu where you can add a suffix, then that's probably all you need. You probably don't need a law at all. Eventually they're going to add it because so many people start using it. But
yes.
I don't think there's a law for junior. So
No, there isn't. And this is my first. I've always stayed away from politics, in the sense of, like, I know what my beliefs are, I know how I vote, whatever. But in terms of like political topics, I've stayed away from that. I've never, with business, you have to be able to have a business regardless of the side of the aisle, right?
Everybody buys shoes.
Right. Everybody buys shoes. We all breathe. We all, etc. And so with this one and going down this will be my first kind of like parlay into this whole life, if you will. And so I need to look at what you just said in terms of maybe it is just a resolution, and what does that look like? And maybe it isn't this kind of arduous, long path that people said that it would be.
Yeah, it's a fate. The French version of it is a fait accompli or something like that, but it's a fact accomplished. It's already out there. It doesn't.
Got it.
So what are they going to do? They're going to take it away. You're going to take somebody's name away? Are you going to take all the juniors away? Are you going to take all the thirds, fourths, and fifths away? No, I don't think so. I think junior is probably rooted in common law. So I would get it done in a commonwealth first, like Virginia. I think, is Maryland a commonwealth? Tennessee, I can't remember.
Okay.
But get it done in a state like that. But I don't even know if it's something that needs to get done. I think it's just something that's done. It's like saying, do you have to pass a law that you can name your kid Tom?
Right.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. I love that. Thank you. I'm getting so many good nuggets here. Thank you so much.
But everybody should involve themselves in some sort of legislated something. Like, even if you have a kid and they're interested in a topic or a law that's being passed to talk for it or against it or whatever, that just following it through, even if you didn't talk to anybody about it, but I think that is an element that helps, so you can see how that legislative branch at least is supposed to work, and then how it actually works. It's like, I did a lot of stuff when I was in Virginia for legislative things because of the union, and wow, that really changed how I looked at government. But yeah, it's good to know how our country works.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And I am ready to learn. I love learning new things. So,
is there anything that you wanted to talk about that we didn't, or any thoughts you have in closing?
Well, I wanted to make sure that at some point we would talk about the Junia project, and I knew that it would somehow come up. So I'm really, really excited about that. I think that everything we talked about was wonderful, and I really, really loved. And like I said, I got chills when you mentioned the fact that it really is about the energy, and you have to be one with the energy in terms of when you're writing and when your creative juices are flowing. So I think that that's great. And if I could give anybody advice, it would be just do it. Just do it. Don't put it, like I said, that project has been tabled for a year and a half, and I'm literally a mile from it being done. And then I can move on to the script and the other. But in terms of being published, I've had every editor. So just keep going. If you have to put a reminder in your calendar, 3 months later to just say, hey, how's that project going, so that you don't table it. That's what I would recommend, because there are 24 hours in a day, and yes, you have to eat and sleep and all that good stuff, but there's a lot of time to take what creative powers that we have and what creative thoughts that we have, and just put it out there for the world.
Very nice. Well said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time, and I'll talk to you after this musical exit.